Folks, don't despair. I know you love your Nebraska football, and I know these one-score losses are dragging you down, but at least you can come here and talk about it. At least we got Greg, we got me. We can all commiserate. We can all vent right here at the Voice of College Football. So join the live chat. Bring your comments, your questions. We got Greg Peterson, always here from Husker Online. We appreciate everybody being flexible to the new time for our Huskers edition number 41.
Wow.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Man, at some point, what do? Just throw your hands up and say, don't know what to tell you. Just it almost follows a script.
Yeah, that's what Scott Frost is doing, apparently. Yeah, it's at that point. I mean, you got a super frustrated fan base, and credit the fan base. 3-5 team out there playing, and there's still 86,000 strong fans in. I mean, it's close to a sellout, and supporting this team. And where else do you see that anywhere? With a team that's probably going to be the 5th year in a row without a bowl game, and most other fan bases have packed it in by now. But yeah, the frustration level just keeps building and building, and what a turnaround the last 3 weeks. You're favored again in 2 ball games, and you come out on the losing end again with a bye week sandwiched in there, and all of a sudden the season's pretty much over. You got to win out, against 3 high-quality opponents that, Scott Frost is a collective 0-8 against in his tenure here. It would have been 0-9, but Nebraska didn't play Wisconsin last year. But, yeah, so the reality, kind of staring you in the face that, you thought you had things turned around, and all of a sudden, 2 games in a row, you come up short. Another one-loss game. It's pretty hard to take right now. I think what Scott Frost is, I think it's 5-23 in one-loss games here at Nebraska, or in his career, something like that. So, yeah, it's hard to take right now if you're rooting for the Big Red.
I got to tell you, this is not to be funny, but if this team does go to a bowl game, obviously we know what you just outlined it. We know what it's going to take to get to a bowl game. If this team accomplishes that, then this will be the most remarkable 6-6 team in the country. If they're able to get through those 3 teams and get to a bowl game. But if they continue to play the way they are, I have little doubt that those are going to be at least competitive games, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, one thing for sure that, they haven't thrown in the towel. Every player out there is still playing for pride, and, they still are all saying the right things. And, they look at this Saturday as an opportunity. If you play Ohio State to a one-score game, I'm not sure what that does for the morale or anything, but it's about time that they got to win a game. One of these games is just, I think Scott Frost even said it today in his press conference today that he was talking about Adrian Martinez, and he just wants Adrian Martinez to get that winning feeling of winning a big time game in a big moment. And it's 4 years now that actually 5 years now, that it's just been despair when you think you got things going, and the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. They find a different way to do it. It seems like every week, and hey, hats off to Purdue. They came in and played a heck of a game, and Jeff Bra. I mean, we were talking about it on the sidelines during the second half, and just Jeff Brom outcoached Scott Frost big time. last Saturday, and it really showed in that second half. So yeah, it's rough.
So Nebraska takes a 14-7 lead. Purdue comes back. Of course, they're up 28-17 late. Nebraska gets a late touchdown onside kick with a hope of pulling out the miracle win. Don't quite get it done. Of course, there was a late interception off the hands of Austin Allen where he was hit in the secondary. And that was Adrian Martinez's fourth interception, but that's certainly not his fault, that particular one. But it kind of leads us into this, Greg. Got 3 games left. Got a veteran quarterback, and who knows what he's thinking about next year. And who knows what Scott Frost is thinking about, whether if he's the head coach in 2022, what he thinks about Adrian Martinez being the quarterback. I don't think there's any question that he's the best quarterback on the roster.
Yeah.
But do you play him the last 3 games? Do you honor his career and say you're playing the last 3 games because because you've earned it, you're our guy, and by 100 times more about it than I do because I just watch the games and read as much as I can, but you're there and you know how much Adrian Martinez is loved and respected by his teammates, by his coaches, everything. He's laid it all out in the field. Nobody can knock this guy for his effort and everything that he's done for his teammates in his school. But in regards to preparing for next year, and if there's a viable quarterback for next year, and I guess that would be Logan Smothers, that would be tremendous game experience to get him leading into next year against 3 great teams.
Yeah, it just kind of goes back to if Logan Smothers was, if he was winning the job in practice during the week, I would say, yeah, that would be great. But he's the backup for a reason, and do you really want to? You got to think about it too. That he's played in 4 games already. Scott Frost was asked this today. That do you not play him anymore? And redshirt him. But Scott Frost said, no, that's not in the plan at all because he is the number 2 guy. Clearly, he is the number 2, and he needs to be ready to go in a moment's notice if Martinez goes down. So. Yeah, in a perfect world, you might think that if you knew that Adrian Martinez was a lock not to come back for a 6th year. Crazy to say that, but that's definitely a possibility. And also, Scott Frost all of a sudden is coaching for his job. Quite frankly, a vast turnaround than 3 weeks ago when. People, we've dealt with this question for so long about is Frost on the hot seat or not. But, after these last 2 games, Trev Alberts has a lot on his plate right now. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes right now. And Trev was not at the game Saturday. He was at his son's wedding, which obviously was scheduled way in advance of Trev taking the job here at Nebraska. So that's a little bit more important. But, Coach Frost was asked if he had talked to Trev Alberts, and he did say that they talked on Sunday. And, he was asked if Trev was on the same page as he was, and he dodged answering that part of the question, anything about what they talked about or anything like that. So, there's a lot going on to answer your question, to answer that question about Logan Smothers right now. And I think that also, do you really want to throw him in there as his first time starting against Ohio State as well? I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of a scary thought right there too.
Appreciate everybody being here. Please leave your comments and your questions. And thank you so much for being flexible. And one of the big reasons why we asked that you would subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live. So here's my thought here about being the AD, and you set it up perfectly. It is not an easy job. And what probably in this situation may make it more difficult is It's one thing if, okay, this is the head coach. We don't believe in him. He's proven he can't do the job. We're done with him. We're going to fire him. That's still, it's never for any person who's got blood running through their veins, that has any ounce of humanity. It's not fun firing anyone. But on top of that, I got to think, let's say Trev Alberts believes in Scott Frost, regardless of wins, losses, what's going on, what the fan base thinks, that he believes he's still the right guy. It's got to be tough to think, okay, at what point do I, cut bait and run, because you got to start all over. You got to start all over with a new coach. Who knows if your new coach is going to be any better? Who's it going to be? Versus at what point do you just continue the next year, hoping things are going to get better and they're going to turn the corner, when you got indication that it's going to turn the corner, but it's not.
Yeah, and it's every time we hear from Coach Frost, it's the same thing: is that we're close, we're so close, and it sounds like the same old broken record over and over. And I don't know if you were aware or not, but Coach Frost did not even address the team after the loss against Purdue. He let the captains do that. So clearly the team's not responding to him the way that things are supposed to be done in a locker room. So there's so many factors that go into that, and Trev Alberts also has to think about a big thing is preserving that sellout streak that's been going on, for 50 some years. And that's a big key here. And then, just with 4 weeks left in the season, 3 games, 4 weeks, what happens if they do end up winning out? And you've already made up your mind before these last 3 games of what you have to do. And I mean, yeah, you just, oh God, it's just got to keep him up, all night, every night right now. And, a thing too is that, you've heard, well, at least Coach Frost, always has, tried to preach that it takes 5 years. You need 5 years just because of how bad of a state the program was in when he took over. And, 4 years and things haven't gotten any better, and you're sitting at 3-6, and with 3 ranked teams left to play, and if you end up 3-9, I don't see how really how Scott Frost keeps his job at this point, no matter how beloved he is, and the wins just aren't coming, and everybody knows that the wins are a cure-all, and how many times are you gonna be in a 1-score game and not be able to get over that hump? And it's got to be devastating for the players, especially like an Adrian Martinez, who, like you said, has poured his heart and soul into being the quarterback here at Nebraska, and even if he has an opportunity to come back for another year, why would he want to if he's going to, yeah, being the quarterback, you're going to take the brunt of the blame, and you're going to take the brunt of the praise. That's just the way it goes, and to end up with a overall record that they might end up with under Adrian Martinez as the starting quarterback, is that why would you want to come back and have to take all that again? I don't know. There's just so many things to digest with what's going on here in Lincoln right now.
So the comment here from David Sowers in regards to, Mark, should the fans say no more sellouts unless you bench Martinez? Well, my thought there is I would hope not. And I don't think any fan base should be blindly loyal regardless. I think they should be loyal, but there's a point at which you either trust your AD and your administration, or you don't trust them. And as long as you trust them, and I'm not comfortable with that in any way, shape, or form myself, because I think that if you trust the people in play, meaning Scott Frost, then you either let him coach. You either say we want a new coach, or you say we have the coach we do, and we're supporting him. Therefore, he makes the decisions. We don't mandate coaching decisions.
I think the biggest thing right now is to look at how they play this Saturday. Have they narrowed the gap with Ohio State or not? They like to think that they have, and okay, they've played some pretty good teams, extremely tough this year, and had chances to beat 3 teams that have been ranked in the top 10. Now, how do they stack up Saturday against Ohio State? Is this another 55-13 Ohio State romp, or does Nebraska come to play, and do they have a chip on their shoulder, and do they have something to prove? I think that's going to go a long way, for Scott Frost's future moving forward here, because if they come out and just lay down and don't think that they deserve to be on the same field with Ohio State, then I think it's probably a no-brainer. And I think you heard Scott Frost even campaigning for his job a little bit today, when he said he's excited about these last 3 games and he's excited for next season. So take that as it is, but that sounds to me like he's a guy that's begging for another year. So, yeah.
David Sawyer's coming back with another question regarding the quarterback coach. And if Frost cannot change quarterbacks, doesn't that say that the quarterback coach is incompetent and needs to be fired? I'm not going to go the route of incompetent. Of course, coaching changes are made on coaching staffs all over the place. If you either evaluate that person's not doing the job that at the standard that you needed, or he's just not a good fit, and that might be the case. Yes.
But that's, again, is that going to come down from Trev Alberts? Is it, Scott, we believe in you. We want you here for another year and see if we can get this thing turned around, but there's going to have to be some changes made on your staff for that to happen. So, I know how close that Scott is with his coaching staff. I mean, those guys they're a tight-knit group of guys, and it's not fun to fire your friend. That's for darn sure. But everybody knows where the problems are. With an offense that's supposed to be a high-powered offense that just fails to live up to expectations. It seems like week in and week out, when you have a defense that's playing at a high level, and they just can't bail you out all the time with those problems that seem to be fixable problems, but they're the same old problems, and they don't seem to get fixed. And you see a team that just cannot overcome mistakes. The mistakes just they shine. You see the mistakes just they overtake anything that was positive. Nebraska, all of a sudden, they get a big play for a first down, and there's a holding penalty, and boom, you put yourself in a hole. Drive killer right there. Adrian Martinez throws a pick 6 on the next play. It's the same thing over and over again, and it's just hard to believe that there's any kind of progress moving forward here, unless there are some changes made on the coaching staff at this point.
It's our Nebraska show that we bring you each and every week. We appreciate everybody being flexible. You can blame me for the time change, and we'll keep you updated on what we need to do in future weeks. But Greg's here as always from Husker Online. Please join him and the rest of the crew there on Husker Online, or right here on YouTube. Just put in Husker Online. You can track all his videos basketball's coming up, news conferences, the whole deal right there. Husker Online right here on YouTube. Yeah, the defense has played well. I would say for the most part, the defense can't be perfect. You don't shut teams out in 2021 or come anywhere close to that, but they're doing the job. They're playing winning football. The kind of point totals that they're giving up, and you got to look beyond that because point totals are related to the offense and field position and turnovers. So obviously they're being put in a bad situation.
Well, and
quite a bit of time and still not giving up a ton of points is my bottom line take on that.
Yeah, well, Purdue did exactly what Minnesota did. It's no secret how to beat Nebraska. You control the ball. You dink and dunk. You move the ball 5 yards at a time. Nebraska's going to give you that. They're going to stay in front of you and not let the big play beat you. So you control the ball. Purdue held the ball almost 40 minutes last Saturday to Nebraska's 20, 22 maybe. And that defense, you can't, they were out there for so many snaps. And, Nebraska running the ball in the first half, they ran the ball for 115 yards in the first half and then all of a sudden abandoned the run game and end up in the third quarter with 9 carries for 9 yards in the third quarter. And Jaquez Yant gets 2 long runs in the first half, of the longest runs of the day, 33-yarder and an 18-yarder, and he only sees 12 snaps the whole game. So it's just kind of bizarre. I don't know. If the offense is not, it seems like it's a feast or famine. It's like they either come out of the box on fire like they did against Northwestern, or you kind of thought that was going to happen this Saturday because Purdue got the ball first and went on a long drive. And I'm pretty sure that there was only one Purdue possession that they didn't make it into Nebraska territory to at least the 25-yard line. So they controlled the ball the whole game, and Nebraska tries to move fast, and all of a sudden, there's mistakes being made and there's interceptions and keep doing what you're doing, run the ball and, kind of try to equal out that time of possession and, give your defense a chance to rest a little bit because, they can bail you out of some of these situations, but not all of these situations. So that's pretty much what you've been seeing in a nutshell with this team all year.
Purdue ran 86 plays and Nebraska 58.
Yeah.
That's a huge disparity.
Yeah.
And, Jaquez Yant, nothing wrong with 6 carries for 60 yards.
And what David Bell, they held David Bell to 73 yards or something like that.
Yep.
And if you would have told me that he's going to get 73 yards, I'm liking Nebraska's chances to win that game. So, yeah. And then, oh, great. This week, here we get Chris Olave and what's Wilson.
Yep.
The 2 top receivers in the NFL draft. So, yeah, it gets a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. Those 2 guys are pretty serious, and their leading receiver this past weekend against Penn State wasn't even one of those 2. It was another top 5 or 10 receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba. So speaking of Yant and speaking of the running game, I'll leave it up to you folks to decide. Who would you want carrying the football for you? Which guy here? Who do you think is going to do a better job for you? We got Greg here, and we got Jaquez. Very nice.
Yeah, I did. I actually had 1 carry in high school.
Did you get a carry? Yep.
Yeah, well, technically you had to play both sides of the ball. So I was a linebacker, but I was also listed as a running back. And I did get 1 carry my senior year. My coach threw me a bone and said, "Get in there, Peterson.
Nice.
You're carrying the ball." And I think it was for no gain against Southeast. Lincoln.
Did you get a fullback dive kind of play?
Pretty much. And it didn't dive very far.
That's all right. Got your hands on the ball. Got your hands on the ball. Now we've got some folks in the chat that are clamoring for Gary Patterson from TCU.
Wow. I don't know. Does he fit the culture here? I don't know. That's hard. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I you just hate to try to speculate, throw names out right
Yep.
now when it's a little premature. Like I said, you're not going to fire a coach in the middle of the season anyway, or while the season's still going on. So yeah, that discussion's for about 4 weeks from now.
Yeah, we shall see. Although it's been done a few times here. Texas Tech, USC, LSU, TCU. 4 times already at major programs making that decision mid-season.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at the Texas Tech situation. So they were 5-2. And then they lost to Kansas State 25-24. 1 point loss to Kansas State dropped them to 5-3. They fired Matt Wells.
Yeah, that's it's kind of strange, but sounds to me like there's something else going on behind the scenes there. So yeah. Yeah, unless you have something in place, you don't really. Unless you have a direction you're going for, it's kind of hard to make that decision, especially at a Big Ten school. When you have you have a young team too, that I think that would kind of shock to the system if he fired their head coach with 3 games left or 2 games left in the season.
Cheryl's asking about choking incident in the Michigan State game. I did not see that video. Do you know anything about that, Greg?
I do not.
Don't know anything about that.
Of course, I didn't even get to see much of that because all I saw of that was from the TVs inside the press box before I went down for pregame. So I didn't even know Michigan State had won until somebody told me. So.
Greg, for some reason your mic kind of popped and it dropped about half the volume level, and now there's a lot of hissing. So I don't know if you can do anything about that or not.
Yeah. Let's just go. How about that?
It sounds about the same. I don't know what happened all of a sudden.
I'm just on the regular computer mic now.
Well, again, we appreciate everybody being here for Nebraska Live here. It's typically Tuesday night, but we made some changes this week, so blame me. I knew that with the college football playoff rankings coming out for the first time on Tuesday night, that will be the big demand on the main channel tomorrow night. So Greg was nice enough to change things up for us this week.
What do we got? Probably what? Georgia.
They're number 1 for sure. Yes.
Yeah, Cincinnati's got to be in there. Oklahoma got to be in there. Michigan State probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I would guess that the top 4 are going to be Georgia, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Michigan State in some order, maybe that order. And then Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama are going to be right there.
Yep.
Then there's a bit of a drop off after that. Those seem to be the teams in the mix as we stand right now. Justin, appreciate you being here. We're not going to answer any Georgia questions on our Nebraska show. So join me anytime, Justin. We got call-in shows all over the place. I'll be on live later tonight.
What kind of questions would they have?
What's that?
What kind of questions would they have? They're sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, right now he's asking me about the starting quarterback spot.
Yeah.
What did you take out of Saturday's game from the positive standpoint?
Oh, well.
Again, Jacques Yant, the guy we just mentioned.
Yeah. Luke Reimer had a career high 19 tackles. He had an impressive game, and they tried a new kicker, and he was very successful. Contreras, who came from Iowa Western, right down the road here in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and he looked good. So the kicking game, there was a nice punt. Um, they downed. They're inside the 5-yard line, so special teams might have been the highlight of the day. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of hard to, if you're handing out grades. I think the offense has got to get an F, and the defense I probably give about a C minus, but not quite all their fault. They did as much as they could. Purdue came out with a great game plan and ran the ball. A team that I kept saying that to my fellow media members down on the sidelines. For a team that's not supposed to be able to run the ball, they're running the ball pretty good. So yeah. But yeah, it was just hard to take away a lot of positives from that performance, and just kind of like when we opened the show up, it's just such a frustrating outcome for this entire fan base.
This situation is unlike any other situation of any program in the country.
Yeah.
There are programs underachieving right now. Florida State, Miami, Texas to a certain extent. Others that should be coming to mind. USC has been pretty bad this year, but those teams are for the most part looking the part week to week. They are losing. They are getting their butts kicked. But this just one score week after week. It's got to be a record if that continues through the rest of the season. Losing 9 games by 1 score.
Yeah, and right now, they're sitting at 3-6, and you've been the favorite in 6 of those 9 games this year so far. And you just can't break through. So it's just it's very, very strange to have a team this competitive that just seems to be behind the 8 ball when it comes to getting a W against a good team.
So they would have been an underdog against Oklahoma, Michigan State?
Actually, they were favored against Michigan State, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So
then they were an underdog in what other game?
What would that been?
Minnesota?
Yeah, I think it was Minnesota.
Okay. Minnesota, yeah. Michigan, and Oklahoma. Yeah, so if they just played at the Vegas line, they're 6-3 right now.
Yep. Yeah, it's just. I mean, for the fan, that's the worst thing about it is that being in the media, you hear it from the fans, you hear it from the coaches, you hear it from the players, and it's you get the worst of it all, and it's just. I mean, it's hard to go home after another loss like that. It's just like, you have to look forward to, another week of just frustration and upset phone calls and tweets and, everything. So I can't imagine what it's like to be one of the players having to go through this.
Well, looking at the games that could have been won and looking at the point spreads and what Vegas had to say, I got to tell you that, I had my preseason predictions here, and I had a 5-7 next to Nebraska for the longest time. And right before I was about to make my final picks, I knocked them up a win to 6-6. And then as soon as they lost that Illinois game, not that it didn't deflate the team or anything like that. They still could have recovered from it. They still bounced back to play really good football against teams like Oklahoma. But just from a mathematical standpoint, I know that my prediction, and then after they lost the Illinois game, just looking at how tough that schedule is, I thought, the math just doesn't look too good now. They really needed that game against Illinois.
Well, yeah, I think we point back to that one since it happened. That definitely one of those that was in that column that you needed on the win side to be successful. And yeah, you're right. You looked like they shook it off. The way they came back. The next couple of weeks, and then the way they played down in Norman, you really thought that you might have something special here, and then they kept it up. And but yeah, then you start losing to these other teams that you're supposed to beat, and you're looking at a 3-6 record right now with the three toughest games probably left on the schedule. So, and I mean, obviously Ohio State's playing for a playoff berth is their ultimate goal, and Wisconsin right now, it's between Wisconsin and Minnesota to win the Big Ten West. So, yeah, and Iowa, Iowa's not very happy right now with what's happened there the last couple of weeks, and seems to me like Nebraska's a nice team to take your frustrations out on Black Friday because you're not the ones playing in that Big Ten title game the following week.
Iowa definitely, by the way that they're playing, not just right now and losing these last two games, but the way they played offensively the entire season looks like the most winnable game because they don't have any answers on offense. They're awful. And they've been able to cover it up all year until now.
It seems like the cure for that is to play Nebraska. People seem to always have a career game against Nebraska these days.
Folks, we went 13-5 against the spread this past week, so check us out on Patreon. 107-69 against the spread this year. Let's see, 134-44 against the money line. So if you like to throw down a few bucks, we may be able to help you out. It's only $5 a month on Patreon. We've got a whole lot of other stuff over there as well besides the picks. But and you can get Greg's picks and 20 other media members. We do a little 12-pack each week, and then I predict more games than that.
I was so mad I went back last minute and switched my Ohio. I had Penn State cover in that game. And last minute, I was like, no. Ohio State's going to hammer them.
Yeah, I took Penn State in the points in that one. And yeah, I gotta admit here that I did take Purdue not only to cover, but to win the game outright.
Smart man.
No, I certainly wasn't super confident about it, but that's the way I went.
Yeah, you got to prove it before I think Vegas will get back on that Nebraska bandwagon.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate the vote of confidence there. We appreciate everybody being here for our Nebraska show each and every week. Yes, so we addressed the quarterback situation right out of the gate. So as we finish up the show, just wait for the video to post. Catch Greg and my comments concerning Logan Smothers and the quarterback situation right off the top of the show. And
I mean, it would be nice to see Logan get a chance there in a meaningful situation. But like we kind of mentioned, do you really want him out there against Ohio State? At least making a start. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say, especially with Adrian Martinez, very unlike him this year. We hadn't seen the interception Adrian Martinez in quite a while, but one we forget about too. He probably should have had another pick six there early in the first quarter too, or was it their second possession? I think it was in the second. But they only had Nebraska had the ball once in the first quarter. That's how much Purdue controlled that ball, and Yeah, he darn near threw a pick six on their second possession, and then ended up on their fourth possession throwing that pick six to the same guy. So yeah.
Mm. All right, folks. I think that'll about do it. Again, appreciate everybody being here. We'll be back next week. Can't tell you exactly when, but we'll work on a permanent schedule here coming up. And again, you can blame me. Just trying to navigate the college football playoff show on Tuesday night is what I'm trying to do here. But obviously, we want to be here with Greg each and every week. All right, everyone. Unless you got anything else, Greg. No reason to push it to an hour if we don't have anything else. Nobody's got any comments, questions, except for all the coaches that they want to Nebraska to hire.
Yeah, well, let's see. You did see kind of I don't know if it's a desperation type thing, but they did extend 5 new offers went out on Sunday after the Purdue loss. They extended an offer to this is interesting. J.J. Cole, who is a monster 6'6" quarterback out of Ankeny, Iowa. We've talked about him on the show before. His dad's Jamie Cole, who runs the Cole kicking camps, and he's already got several offers: Iowa, Missouri, and Nebraska threw their hat in there. He was actually there. He was on a visit at the Purdue game, so he's no stranger to Nebraska. So that was a very interesting offer that went out to me, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow night on Big Red Wrap Up here, which I will actually get a chance to watch for a change now that I contribute to, since it's the same time as our normal Huskers live show here. Another offer was to a 2025 Omaha Burke player, which I'm going to go check out this Friday play in the state playoffs because there's not a lot of options left after the opening round of the high school playoffs here last Friday. It was not a good night if you were a Nebraska commit or a Nebraska offer guy. Most of those guys are done playing now after a bizarre Friday night of football here in Lincoln and Omaha. So actually, it was all in Omaha. But it was fun. The number 1 seed got beat by the 16 seed, Omaha North. It was a 4-5 ball club. And very interesting. Head coach Larry Martin there told me when they were sitting at 0-5, he had hit one of his young recruits, Tyson Terry, who's a 2025 defensive end, was there as a visitor 5 weeks ago. And he told me, it's like, we're going to win our last 4 games. I'm telling you. And they sure did. And they made the playoffs, and they knocked out the number 1 seed, Millard South. So, and Nebraska commit Gage Stenger, quarterback there. So, yeah, it was a lot of fireworks going on here in the high school ranks. And so we're kind of scrabbling to pick out some games to cover this week. So there's still a few guys left that, that have Nebraska offers. So we'll get some of that going.
I've got a list of the offers that have gone out for Nebraska. Let me throw a few of these guys by you, and obviously, if you haven't worked on them, then just we'll move on to the next guy. But Ashton Hayes is the running back that you scouted in Reno, correct?
Yep.
Just a few weeks ago.
Yep. Great kid. Very talented running back. He can do it all, and kind of a lot like Ramir Johnson doing right now. He's a little bit bigger than Ramir, but yeah, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield, and he's not scared to run it up the middle and get those tough yards either. So, guy who's, like we mentioned earlier, he's been having an incredible season now out in Reno, putting up video game numbers all year, except for the 1 week that I was there to see him. But, that's kind of the way it goes. The Husker Online curse lives strong.
Greg, if you had a chance to see Victor Jones, wide receiver out of Olympia High School in Orlando, 6'2", 184.
Yeah, no, didn't make it down to Florida this year. He's he's probably that number one receiver in this class. I mean, he's been committed for quite some time. I've seen him in person here on campus, on visits, but I've not seen him play in person. But one of those guys that fits, kind of the way this offense is moving towards a little bit of a good sized receiver. Not one of these super tall, huge monsters that they've been going after, but good enough size that he should be a difference maker when he gets here.
How about tight end Chase Androff out of Minnesota?
Minnesota. Again, I've seen him here in person, just eyeball test. Big dude. Has been another guy that's been committed for quite some time, and kind of following in that line of tight ends that Nebraska's been kind of stockpiling here, because they've already got their tight end for next year as well, and Ben Bramer out of Pierce, Nebraska. So just another one of those big, tall-bodied tight ends that that you can develop and turn into an NFL guy down the road.
Okay. Let's see. Got anything on Grant Page out of Boulder, Colorado?
He's been hurt. Has been out. So his senior year got cut short. I planned to go see him. I was going to do that during the bye week, and then realized, oh yeah, he's out for the year. So unfortunate for him. But another guy a lot like Victor Jones. Another 3-star type guy that you need bodies. As many bodies as he can put in that wide receiver room as you possibly can.
And Richard Torres, again, only got to play a couple games this year before he got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt the game that I went to go see him play. I think that was their 6th game of the year. So they were undefeated and rolling pretty good until Richard went down, and they ended up losing that game. So there's that Husker Online curse again. And unfortunately, that injury, it didn't seem at the time that it was going to be much, but it turned out that that was the last game that he was going to play in the senior year. But big, tall guy. I mean, one of the biggest quarterback that Nebraska's ever had. He's all of 6'6". I mean, he's a dude, and he's got a cannon. So good things on the horizon when the last 2 quarterbacks that you've taken with Heinrich Harburg at 6'5", and now Richard Torres at 6'6". So you kind of see where Nebraska is trying to move with their quarterbacks here in the future.
Before I give you this next player, we may want to correct this comment in the chat. I don't know what this individual is talking about. Ron says Nebraska has not won a championship since I was born in 1992. You may want to do a Google search there. You missed 3 for sure. That's if you're talking about national championships. If you're talking about conference championships, then you're talking about missing a whole lot more than that. So, yeah. The 90s were pretty kind to this program. So, let's.
Yeah, we have to get back into that old debate with Florida State or Nebraska, the team of the 90s, right?
Yeah, it's a good one. I do think Nebraska's got the edge. Ernest Hausman out of Columbus, Nebraska, linebacker.
Yeah, seen him play a lot. I really like this kid. Big, he runs the field like crazy. I think they're going to use him as an outside linebacker when he gets here, and a guy that eventually might turn into a pass rusher, a pass rushing specialist type of a guy. But I really like his game at Columbus. He also plays tight end and gets loose for a lot of downfield touchdowns for his Columbus team. Unfortunately, they lost to North Platte last week, so they are done for the year. But Ernest is he's a heck of a good-looking player, and I think he's going to be a mainstay in this Nebraska defense here. A couple years down the line here when he gets his turn.
Then we've got Gage Stenger,
Yep.
linebacker, Omaha.
Yeah, he's. We just talked about him. He was at Millard South. They're, they were the number one seed going in, and he had been playing quarterback there for the Patriots all season. And he also plays, that safety linebacker kind of hybrid. They look at Gabe Stenger as the next JoJo Doman, but they've also left quarterback open for him as well if he would like to play quarterback. And he did. He had 5 touchdowns Friday night in a what was that score? 49-42 loss, I think it was. In one of those just incredible games that we saw last week. So unfortunately, he's done. I have that video cut and ready so his highlights will be going up here later today. So Husker fans can get a look at Gabe Stenger and see him play quarterback at least. They threw him in at the end of the game when they needed him in their defense for a series or two. But most of the year he'd been concentrating on offense. But last year when he was playing full-time defense, he was a very impressive young man, a headhunter. He plays a lot like JoJo Doman does. And he was a K-State commit until Nebraska offered a few weeks ago. And he had to make that phone call to K-State and decommit and commit to Nebraska. So I like his future as well.
Jake Applegate is a edge rusher out of Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln Southeast. Jake Applegate's been committed. Another guy that he was committed last year. Big kid, another 6'6" frame on him. Plays linebacker for Southeast and wide receiver as well. And he's a special guy when he's got the ball in his hands. He likes to run guys over. He lowers his shoulder and trucks guys. And he makes plays all over the field. It'll be interesting how Nebraska kind of chooses to use him in the future. He'll be playing on the defensive side of the ball for sure. We'll just see if it's at a rush end spot or a linebacker spot or even possibly a safety. He can do all of those.
Folks, you could benefit from sponsoring the Voice of College Football, whether that be our Nebraska show, our Nebraska channel, or just in general. So just whatever fits you best. Contact me at MarkRogersTV at Gmail if you would like to sponsor us here at the Voice of College Football. Well, Greg, people found us here. We got about 90 on the line. So even though we switched it up on them, you can blame me again. They still were able to track us down.
Yeah, I got to figure out what to do with myself now at 7 o'clock Central tomorrow night.
You can watch my college football playoff show, but I know you got better things to do than that.
I'll have that on alongside with Big Red Wrap-Up. How's that? So
there we go. There we go. Greg, as always, appreciate you making this happen.
Hey, no problem. Always my pleasure.
Everybody lock it in. We will be back next week. As always, 41 consecutive weeks, and we will let you know when next week's show will hit right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate everybody being here. Have a great week. And it's Ohio State coming up, the big noon show and the 11 a.m. kickoff in Lincoln coming up on Saturday.
If there's any Ohio State fans heading to Lincoln without a ticket in hand, pretty sure you probably will have an easy time of securing yourself a ticket. Not saying it's not going to be a full stadium, but I think this is one of those opportunities where some of those Nebraska fans might be willing to give up their tickets.
And after years and years and decades of loyalty, that's certainly understandable.
Yep. And it's been a cold 11 a.m. kickoff. So, you know what? I would much rather, I think, myself be sitting in my nice warm house watching that game instead of freezing my butt off down there on the field this Saturday. So it is what it is.
Yeah. So you've got 2 more of those to make.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Greg, we appreciate it.
Sounds good. Have a good week.